And right now I'm one of the directors of this bookshop. This is called New Beacon Bookshop, and we welcome you to come today, and I hope you'll come back all through your life, because some people have come here as children and have come back as adults. You know why? Because we've been here, well not here, but we've been having a bookshop for 55 years. Oh, wow. That's a long time, isn't it? So thank you and welcome. We're going to do some readings this morning, because reading is really important. Reading and maths is really important. That's why we have a bookshop, to help people to read and write, and when they get to adults, to use that reading and writing to do other big things. There'll be 3 readers today: Nicole, Belinda and Nadia. They're all part of the team that runs this bookshop. We have a team of people who run the bookshop. And this is our first Saturday event, but we're doing other Saturday events. So if we haven't got your name and address, there's a little clipboard going around to give us your name and address and email so we can contact you for further events. I think that's covered everything.
I think so. We'll have a little
right.
interlude, won't we? We'll have a break.
Oh, sorry, yes. We're going to have a break part way through, so you can get some refreshments, something to drink and something to eat. And then we'll finish off the reading. I'd like now to pass you over to Nadia, and she's going to be one of our readers.
Okay, so the first book that I wanted to share with you today is this book, and it's called The YY Girl. And we were talking about how old people are. I'm as old as this bookshop, and I'm practically a dinosaur. I told Fatima that on the way, and she said, "What? You're older than my mum." What do you want to say, Fatima? Did you want to say something?
So you're older than my mum.
Definitely older than your mum.
I'm older than your son.
And definitely I'm older than my own son. It would be hard not to be older than my son. So, but actually, it relates. And I was going to say, if you've got any questions or anything, when I'm reading, just when I finish a page, then you can put your hand up if there's something you don't understand, because somebody else might not understand it as well. And then you can tell us your comments and thoughts at the end. But this book, actually, talking about my son, I got this when he was about your age, actually. I bought it for him, and he's going to be 20 next month, so he's big now. But this book he really liked. So anyway, it's The YY Girl, and it's by a writer who died a few years ago, an Asian writer, Mahasweta Devi. And as you hear the story, when the person that's narrating the story is talking, that is actually her. So she based it on children that she knew from her real life experience, but it's kind of made up as well, okay?
Nadia, before we start, we talk about...
Oh yes, I forgot. Are you all happy, carers, parents and children, are you happy to have your photographs taken by New Beacon so that you can be on our website and our Instagram? Yeah, any parents or carers are not happy with that? Okay, so, well, maybe can we just be aware, is that you're with Mackenzie and... Okay, fine. Hi, there's our other colleague, Nicole. Okay, so we're going to start now. We'll talk about that then. So we've just got 2 in the row.
Yeah.
Penultimate row, yeah.
Our video man knows about it, so
that's cool.
He'll be all right. And I'll be taking photographs, so I know.
Okay, great. So let's start. Okay. The YY Girl. And it's illustrated. That means all the pictures are done by somebody called Kanika Kini. Okay. But why? The question came from a small girl about 10 years old. She was chasing a large snake. I ran after her, grabbed her plait and held her back, shouting, "No, Moina, don't." "Why shouldn't I?" she asked. "It's not a grass snake or a rat snake. It's a cobra," I replied. "Why shouldn't I catch a cobra?" "Why should you?" "We eat snakes, you know," Moina said. "The head you chop off, the skin you sell, the meat you cook." "Yes, but don't do it this time," I said. I will. "No, child." Okay. And what does she say at the bottom? But why? Can you all see the picture?
Yes.
Great. I dragged Moina back to the Samiti office where I worked. Her mother, Kiri, was there weaving a basket. The Samiti was a place where people could come to learn, to read and write, or simply sing and dance together. "Come," I said to Moina, "come and rest for a little while." "Why?" "Aren't you tired?" I asked. Moina shook her head vigorously. "Who will bring the goats home and collect firewood and fetch water and lay traps for the birds?" came the questions, one after another. And I should explain, the Samiti is the group where the author, the real author of this book, was working. So it's a real place working with local people. Yeah, Fatima, you have a question?
My birthday today.
We know it's your birthday tomorrow. We'll come back to that later.
Lots of cake then.
Okay. Okay, now we'll get back to birthdays later. Okay, next page. "Moina, don't forget to thank the Babu for the rice he sent us," said Kiri. It's her mum, yeah? "Why should I?" Moina said. "Don't I sweep the cowshed and do 1,000 jobs for him? Does he ever thank me? Why should I?" Saying this, Moina ran off. Kiri sighed and shook her head. "Never seen a child like this, and she keeps saying, 'Why?' No wonder the postmaster calls her YY Girl." "I like her," I said. "But she's very obstinate," Kiri retorted. "Just won't give in." Can you see what the shape of these words are up here? Any ideas?
Question.
It's a question mark, okay. And does everybody know what obstinate means? Anybody got an idea? She was very obstinate. Does anybody know? Yeah. Go on, yeah.
Stubborn.
Very good, stubborn, yeah, great, well done. Okay, next page. Moina was a Shaba. The Shabas were a poor tribal group, and they owned no land. But nobody complained. Only Moina's questions went on and on. "Why do I have to walk so far to the river to fetch water? Why do we live in a leaf hut? Why can't we eat rice twice a day?" Moina tended the goats of the village, landlords or babus, but she was neither humble nor grateful. She did her work and came home in the evening. "Why should I eat their leftovers?" she would say. "I will cook a delicious meal with green leaves and rice and crabs and chili powder and eat with my family." The Shabazz did not usually send their daughters to work, but Moina's mother had a bad leg and so couldn't walk properly. Her father had gone off to faraway Jameshpur in search of work, and her brother, Goro, went to the forest every day to collect firewood. So Moina had to work.
And can we say actually that even now in 2022, there are children in different parts of the world who actually have to work. Mm-hmm. And those who are lucky and are able to go to school often still have to do a lot of work before they get to school. Mm-hmm.
Right? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Very long days. Yeah. That October, I stayed in the village for a month. One morning, Moina declared that she would move in with me. "No," said Kiri. "Why not? It's a big hut. How much space does one old woman need? Moina said, referring to me, of course. What about going to work? Her mother asked. I'll go, but I'll come here after work, Moina said. And she came, with one change of clothes and a baby mongoose. It eats very little and chases away the bad snakes, she said. The good snakes I can catch and give to mother. She makes lovely snake curry. I'll bring some for you. Our Samiti teacher, Malati, said to me, she'll exhaust you with her whys. Wow, what a time I had with Moina. Why do I have to graze the babu's goats? Their boys can do it. The girls doing it? Why can't fish speak? Why do stars look so small if many of them are bigger than the sun? One night she asked me, why do you read books before you go to sleep? Because books have the answers to your whys, I replied, and for once, Moina was silent. She tidied the room, watered the flowering tree, and fed fish to the mongoose. Then she came up to me and said, I will learn to read and find the answers to my questions. When Moina grazed the goat, she told the other children all that she had learned from me. Many stars are bigger than the sun, but they live far away, so they look small. The sun is nearer, so it looks bigger. The fish do not speak like us. They have a fish language, which is silent. The earth is round. Did you know that? There she is. When I returned to the village a year later, the first thing I heard was Moina's voice. Why is the school closed? She challenged Malati as she entered the Samiti school, dragging along a bleating goat. What do you mean, why? Asked Malati. Why shouldn't I study too? Asked Moina. Who's stopping you? But there's no class. School is over for the day, Malati pointed out. Why? Because, Moina, I take class from 9 to 11 in the morning, said Malati. Moina stamped her foot and said, why can't you change the hours? I have to graze the goats in the morning. I can only come after 11. If you don't teach me, how will I learn? I will tell the old lady, me, that none of us, goat herds and cow herds, can come in the hours and they have to be changed. Then she saw me and fled with her goat. Can you all see the picture at the back?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nicole. I went to Moina's house. I went to Moina's house in the evening, nestling close to the kitchen fire. Moina was telling her little sister and elder brother, you cut one tree and plant another two. You wash your hands before you eat. Do you know why? You'll get stomach pain if you don't. You know nothing. Do you know why? Because you don't attend classes at the Samiti. What do you think was the first? Who do you think, was the first girl to be admitted to the village primary school? Moina. Moina is 18 now. She teaches at the Samiti. If you pass by, you are sure to hear her impatient, demanding voice. Don't be lazy. Ask me a question. Ask me why mosquitoes should be destroyed, why the pole star is always in the north sky. And the other children, too, are learning to ask why. Moina doesn't know why I'm writing her story. If she did, she'd say, writing about me? Why? That's the end of the story.
Great story.
This is an old folktale that I also grew up listening to, translated into English. So in Zimbabwean folktales, you have two main characters that appear in a lot of them, the rabbit and the baboon. And the story we're going to read today is more the rabbit. The baboon is not so much in this, but this is the rabbit and the crocodile. Once upon a time, in the forest somewhere, there lived Rabbit and a baboon. The baboon needed help planting corn in his field, so he organized a humwe and invited all the animals in the forest. What is a humwe, you ask? It's a special gathering where the guests work together to help with a project, such as ploughing a field or thatching the roof of a hut. At the end of the day, there is a big celebration and everyone feasts on meat, sadza, which is the staple food made out of maize, and on maheu, a fermented drink. The rabbit woke up very early, gathered his 2 cousins, and they were off on their way to the humwe. When they came to the river, they crossed quite easily. They didn't even get their tails wet. You see, it hadn't rained for a long time and the water was low. When they arrived at the humwe, the 3 rabbits helped plant the corn, and by midday the task was complete, just in time, since it began to rain. The animals gathered under a tree for a big celebration and for the feast. And when the celebration was over, the rabbit and his cousins prepared to return home. To their dismay, when they arrived at the river, they saw that they couldn't walk back across. It had rained so much that the water was higher than the tops of their ears. The rabbit and his cousins stood at the riverbank trying to figure out what to do. And as always, the rabbit chuckled to himself as he devised a plan on how to get home. Before long, he saw a crocodile swimming by, and he made his voice very loud to get the crocodile's attention. My, I think there surely can't be more than 5 crocodiles in this entire river, he hollered out. You must be kidding, answered the crocodile. There are definitely more than 5 of us. Why do you care? We rabbits are planning to invite you to a party on the other side of the river, answered the rabbit, and we need a count so we know how much food to prepare. Now that got the crocodile's full attention. Then the rabbit said, I have a great idea. Why don't we count all the crocodiles in this river? That is a good idea, replied the crocodile. Line up all the crocodiles in a row across the river and I'll count them, said the rabbit. The crocodile called the other crocodiles and told them about the party they were all invited to. He told them to line up across the river so that the rabbit could count them. As soon as the crocodiles were lined up, the rabbit hopped from one crocodile's back to another. And when he reached the other side of the river, the rabbit had counted 50 crocodiles. But he shouted out and said, 48! I counted 48 of you. The crocodile shouted back, You must have made a mistake. We are more than 48. Don't worry, said the rabbit. Let's have my cousin do a recount. The rabbit called to his first cousin, who was still on the far side of the river. The first cousin hopped from one crocodile's back to another, and when he reached the other side, he too had counted 50 crocodiles, but he yelled out, 49! I counted 49! Again, the crocodile said, No, you're wrong. We are more than 49. The rabbit said, Don't worry. I'll ask my second cousin to do a final check. He called his other cousin, who was still on the far side of the river, and told him to count one more time. The cousin hopped across each crocodile's back, and when he got to the other side of the river, he had counted 50 crocodiles. He announced his results to the crocodile. You were right. There are 50 of you. At this moment, the rabbit and his cousins started laughing hysterically. Thanks for helping us cross the river, they shouted. When is the party? Asked the crocodile. There is no party, replied the rabbits as they ran off, laughing. The crocodile was very angry. The rabbit had tricked him once again. Smart,
it.
Smart right there, right?
My 2 grannies. Alvina had 2 grannies who she loved with all her heart. They were called Granny Vera and Granny Rose. Granny Vera was born on the Caribbean island of Trinidad, and Granny Rose was born in the Yorkshire town of Barnsley. Now, they both lived in the same city as Alvina and her parents. Alvina always looked forward to visiting her grannies because she loved hearing the stories they told about when they were little girls. So there we've got Granny Vera, Granny Rose, and Alvina and her parents. A happy bunch of campers, or are they? Let's see. Tell me about Trinidad again, Alvina begged. You don't ever get tired of hearing the same stories, Alvina, said Granny Vera. Never, said Alvina. When I was your age, we would go to the beach and splash around in the sea, said Granny Vera, with a big smile on her face. We never wanted to come out of that warm water. I would love to do that, Granny V, said Alvina. Well, one day I will take you to Trinidad, darling, said Granny Vera. I promise. There she is, being told tales by her granny. When Alvina saw Granny Rose, she asked, Did you swim in the sea all day when you were little? Oh, no, lovey, laughed Granny Rose. The sea in Blackpool was much too cold, but we did play on the beach all day long and ride on the donkeys. We must all go to Blackpool one day, so you can do that too. Ooh, oh, yes, please. So there she is with Granny Rose. Fatima, did you want to say something? Yes?
One of my friends went to Blackpool before.
Did she ride on a donkey? Did she splash in the cool sea? Smart friends, smart. Both grannies loved to play music on their old record players, and Alvina loved listening to it. Granny Rose played brass band music. This music always reminds me of when we used to go to the park on Sundays to listen to the local brass band. On May Day, we would watch the Morris dancers fling their arms in the air and jiggle the bells on their legs as they twirled around the maypole to the music. Let's try it, Granny R, said Alvina, and they both fell exhausted into a heap of laughter when they tried to do the Morris dance. Granny Vera's favourite music was calypso and steel pan. This is what they used to play in Trinidad, Granny Vera explained to Alvina. It always made me want to dance in the streets carnival time. Come on, Alvina, shake your waist while you dance, girl. Like this, Granny V? That's right, darling. So Alvina is definitely getting lessons in Morris dancing and in what we call in Trinidad a little whining. Shake that waist. One day, Alvina's two grannies were at her house for tea. Alvina's mum said, It will be our 10th wedding anniversary next month. Why don't you, the two of you go away together? I'll be more than happy to look after Alvina, said Granny Vera. No, I will look after her. She can come and stay with me, said Granny Rose. The two grannies argued and argued about who would look after Alvina. So Alvina said, Why don't you both stay here and look after me? The two grannies frowned at each other, but agreed. Yes, they would both look after Alvina. So already we see that Alvina is having to play referee for the two grannies. Old enough to know better, I see. The day arrived when Alvina's parents were going off on holiday. Have a nice time, said Alvina, hugging her mum and dad tightly. We are going to miss you, said Mum. Be a good girl for your grannies, said Dad. I will, said Alvina. Don't worry, I will look after her, said Granny Vera. And so will I, said Granny Rose. Wow. The battle of the grannies commences. Here's the start of it. As they waved her parents goodbye, Alvina said, Let's play a game. We can play dominoes. We can play snakes and ladders. Alvina did not know which game to play first, so she said, Should we go for a walk? Let's go to the park. We can feed the ducks. We could go to the zoo and see the agouti and the toucan. Alvina didn't know what to do, so she asked, Shall we have something to eat first? I'll cook a lovely steak and kidney pie with mashed potatoes and carrots. Let me cook some nice rice and peas with chicken and plantains. Alvina couldn't decide who should cook. So in the end, they got something out of the freezer. Oh, freezer food. Good sometimes, but not as good as your granny's cooking. If only they would agree. At bedtime, the two grannies wanted to tell Alvina a story. How about an Anansi story, said Granny Vero. Or a rabbit story, said Auntie Belinda. Or I could tell you the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, said Granny Rose. Alvina didn't know which story to choose, so she said she was too tired to hear a story and went to sleep. The next morning, when Alvina got up, she had an idea. She sat down with the two grannies at the breakfast table. Granny V and Granny R, I love the things you both do for me, so why don't you just take turns? Granny V can do everything one day, and Granny R, you can do everything the next day. And that's what happened. Out of the mouths of babes, we say. Children are sometimes you guys can be sometimes you guys can be a lot smarter than us, sometimes. They all play dominoes the way Granny Vera did when she was a girl. And afterwards, she cooked peas and rice, chicken and plantains with mango flan for pudding. Ooh! This is lovely, Granny V, said Alvina, tucking in. Very nice, said Granny Rose. You must give me the recipe. They're getting on. They went to the zoo and saw the agouti and the toucan, the animals Granny Vera had seen in the forest as a girl in Trinidad. It must have been wonderful to see those animals in the wild, said Granny Rose. There they are, at the zoo. I love it. Granny Rose can say a few things. That night, Granny Vera told an exciting Anansi story. Anansi would turn himself into a spider, whenever he was in trouble, she said. Or if he wanted to play a trick, chipped in Alvina, who couldn't help joining in. That Anansi sounds crafty, said Granny Rose. He is, said Alvina, with eyes as wide as saucers. Alvina gave both her grannies a big hug and fell fast asleep with a smile on her face. And the grannies smiled too. Aww. Peace and love, guys. Peace and love.
Yes.
Right? And good bedtime stories. The next day, it was Granny Rose's turn. They played snakes and ladders. Down the snake I go, said Granny Rose. Never mind, Granny R, said Alvina. You won the last game. Then they went to the park and Alvina fed the ducks. That duck is greedy. It's eating all the bread, laughed Alvina. I'll give them some too, said Granny Vera. This is fun. There they are, having a good time. See? Granny Rose cooked steak and kidney pie with mashed potatoes and carrots and apple pie for pudding. But you must show me how to make steak and kidney pie, said Granny Vera. It's delicious. Yeah. So they're really getting on. At bedtime, Granny Rose told the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman, Alvina and Granny Rose said together. I like that part of the story, Alvina said. Run, Jack, run. Yes, run, Jack, giggled Auntie Vera. The two grannies took turns for the rest of the week to look after Alvina. They really got to know each other better. Yeah. When Alvina's parents came back from holiday, she was excited to see them. Did you have a nice time with your grannies? Asked Mum. Oh, yes, said Alvina. We had lots of fun. They both made me feel so special. That's because we love you, chirped the two grannies. And they gave her a great big hug. The end. So, this book, Africa, Amazing Africa, is one of our favorites in the shop, and it's really a very good seller. Before we get into it, what is Africa? What's your name?
Anaya.
Anaya. What is Africa?
Africa is a continent.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And can anybody guess, or does anybody know how many countries we find on the continent of Africa? We know for sure that there's one, because Belinda is from Zimbabwe. So that's one. Does anybody have an idea of how many? Yes, boy down at the back, what's your name?
Josiah.
Josiah. Thank you. How many countries do you think? Or do you know? 45? You're getting up there. It's a bit more. Anybody else? Girl in front. What's your name? Oh, go ahead.
52.
52. Very
Getting
close. Close. Much closer. And girl at the back.
56.
Oh, just one over.
Well, now it's easy. Now it's easy.
54. No, sorry, 55.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Give yourselves a round of applause. Those were good guesses.
So we thought today, because we haven't got time to look at the whole book, maybe you could put your hands up and suggest a country that we can read about in Africa, okay? Who's that at the back? Who's got their hand up at the back? Josiah.
Ghana. So Ghana is it. So Africa, on the continent, we have East Africa, we have Central Africa, we have West Africa, we have North Africa, and we have Southern Africa. And Ghana is located in West Africa. Okay? Okay. So Ghana has the biggest market in the whole of West Africa. Thousands and thousands of people jostle their way through the walkways, buying and selling clothes and fruit, computers and cloth, dried fish and shoes, and everything else under the hot, hot sun. There are no set prices in an African market. The trader tells you what they want you to pay, and it's up to you to argue the price down. This is called haggling. It's fast and furious, and it's full of jokes. And in fact, sometimes I've been told that if as a customer you don't haggle, the traders are looking at you like, what's wrong with you? What, you're just going to pay the price I told you? What's wrong with you? So that's one of the things. Do you want to read about country?
I've been to the market in Accra and Kumasi. Who else has been?
Has anybody been there?
Oh, nice.
Very good.
Do you want to tell us?
So yes, kente is the name of the special Ghanaian cloth woven with silk and cotton. Once only members of the royal family of the Ashanti kingdom were allowed to wear it. Now anyone who's rich enough to buy it can wear it. Kejita Market has around 10,000 stalls and more than 44,000 people work there. It covers 12 hectares. That is as big as a small town.
Good grief, Charlie Brown. No, we didn't show the picture. So there, that's it.
Can you all see? Fatima, you look desperate to say something.
I'm from Somalia, though.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll get onto there. So, what's the next place that we would like to hear about?
Somalia. I think
Egypt.
Egypt?
Okay, yes. And
then we'll go back to Somalia in a second.
And then can I choose a country, please?
Oh,
thanks. Thanks.
let's see. Yeah, exactly. You wish it were, don't you? You wish it were.
There we are, Egypt.
Egypt is probably the most well-known African country. Tourists love visiting its famous pyramids and taking boat rides down the magnificent River Nile, where the biggest crocodiles, we're back to the crocodiles, in Africa live. The river runs through the capital city of, anybody know? Capital city of Egypt?
Cairo.
Yeah,
Exactly, excellent.
It's a gigantic city with one of the best universities and the best army. When we judge an army in the whole of Africa. Do you want to just read that?
Sorry. Egypt is the largest Arab country in the whole world and is on two continents, Africa and Asia. Because most of Egypt is desert, 99% of Egyptian people live in only 3% of the country, along the edges of the River Nile. Without this wide, wet river, which brings rich soil as well as water, Egypt would never have become a great nation. Yes, Fatima?
I went to Egypt before.
Very good. What did you see there? Give us one. Tell us one
camel.
interesting thing.
camel.
A camel.
And
There you go.
I also rode a camel as well.
Oh, lucky you.
Somalia. Let's go.
Okay.
So,
43. Testing our geography, right?
that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somalia. Anybody else got family from Somalia? Apart from you, Fatima? Somalia. Somali people love poetry. Once they recited poetry as they herded their flocks on land and fished on the ocean. But war, drought and famine came, and big foreign fishing trawlers that scooped up all the fish. Now some of those herdsmen and fishermen make a living as real-life pirates, chasing huge container ships in their little speedboats. But Somali poets are their nation's true heroes, and they are still creating poetry.
Sir Mo Farah, one of the greatest athletes the world has ever known, was born in Somalia to Somali parents and lived there until he was 8. He is famous for winning double golds. Somali people live all over the world now. Many are refugees from war, famine and drought, and many are people who just choose to go to live in other countries. So they're not always running away from war, famine and drought. Picture. Yeah.
My dad, we have like a capital city, and my dad, when he went there, he was in a capital city, but he's not there anymore.
Do you know can you tell us what the
what the
capital
name of
city
the city is?
I think I don't know how to say it properly.
What letter does it begin
begins
with?
M.
Mogadishu. Mogadishu. Yeah. Okay, so
Anyone?
choose
Yeah. Oh, you want to choose? Sorry, children. Sorry, children. Nicole wants to choose.
There's a reason why I'm choosing. You'll see.
I know the
She'll
reason.
thank
I know
me
the
for it
reason. I know the
later.
reason. I know the reason.
Trinidad is in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is not there. I checked. It's not
It didn't
there.
creep in. It didn't
Sadly, we're not there. So, South Africa, because my sister Nadia is South African. So a round of applause, please.
Of course I know.
And so we're going to get a little reading. Or would you like to read it?
No, please, go ahead.
South Africa is called the Rainbow Nation because of its mix of white and black and Asian people. Once there was a terrible conflict between the groups when some of the white people decided they were better than anyone else and kept jobs, land and education just for themselves. Other people, like Nelson Mandela, among many, fought for everyone to be considered equal. And now they say the battle is over and South Africans are working together for peace. It is one of Africa's most modern countries, and there are big cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town with football stadia, shopping malls, mansions and ghettos where all sorts of different people live and work and play.
Nelson Mandela was the first black South African president. During the conflict, he was kept in prison for 27 years. He was told he would only be freed if he stopped fighting for equality for all South Africans. He always refused. There are lots of car factories in South Africa: BMW, Chrysler, Fiat, Ford, General Motors, Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, Toyota and Volkswagen. And it has its own car makers too, like Advanced Automotive Design. All these people, I don't know any of these companies, maybe you do. Bailey Cars, Birkin Cars and Piranha Cars. I think there's lots of other things we could say about South Africa, like the food and the music, but anyway.
Just little facts.
Anybody got any other, what would you like to say?
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
So maybe it's the last one.
Yes, this may be the last one because...
Yeah.
Okay. What page? 52. Okay, the city of Lagos in Nigeria is the biggest, busiest city in the whole of Africa. There are so many millions of cars that often the traffic is completely jammed for hours. So the quickest way to get around the city is on a motorbike taxi. They can weave in and out of cars, whether they are stuck or speeding. They're so dangerous, they've been banned on some roads, but not everyone in Lagos obeys the rules.
Nigeria has the biggest population in Africa and the biggest economy. 1 in 4 Africans is a Nigerian. That's quite a statistic. The house cities of Kano and Katsina in northern Nigeria are around 1,000 years old. Nigeria has the 3rd largest film industry after Hollywood and Bollywood. Do we know what Bollywood is? Anybody? Rasheen?
It's the place in India.
It's well, it's the name for India's film industry. So it's a little play on the words of Hollywood, which is obviously in the US. And they call it Nollywood in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a big business, I tell you.
Am I showing the right page? Oh, sorry, that one. Can you all see?
Yeah.
So, I think we've
We've
come
exhausted ourselves, and you probably.
come to the end.